here, you guys can ponder the mysteries of this model here, the Grosser Hund, as we continue to shake. And I'm pretty happy with the with where we're at with this baby. I think we're kind of like we're on schedule. Yeah, so we're just shaking. I do have a paint mixer, but it only can shake one paint at a time. So, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with the state of things with this Maschinen Krieger model here. We're going for a kind of vaporwave neon kind of look, and that's sort of informed by a lot of the pink, as you can see here, but we've also introduced a bit of the pink, you know, in other places too, like here, and that's just a way of like, see on the underside, that's just a way of kind of unifying the model, in a way where if you only had the pink just in these spots, that would make it like stand out too much and it would feel not as unified. But if you introduce just a little hint, little hint. Classical playlist? No, this is an RPG. This is RPG. Ult, I've never seen a Maschinen Krieger kit like this. Yeah, I don't know, maybe there's someone out there, but I thought it might be fun, and actually I kind of happened upon this idea after my first session painting this model, which was on stream. I wasn't too happy with the colors that I originally used. Like, it was kind of like a more deep dark green and red, and obviously when you have red and green, like, your immediate association is like Christmas, right? So then after that stream, I kind of took the model and put it into photo editing software, Procreate on the iPad, and I just adjusted. Again, guys, we're just shaking paint, shake, and was just tweaking the values of the photo, and then I kind of came across basically this, and then I thought, like, what if I were to take the edited photo and try and match those colors in real. Yeah, I procreated with my iPad. Yes, the we're reaching the singularity. We're reaching, like, you know, we've got robots out here making deliveries. We've got robots doing all sorts of things. So that's the next step, guys. Procreating. It's usually weird animal remix or menu sounds. Yes. These are the two options that I have available here on stream. But also some white ink. I'm gonna let that dry. But let's get our colors ready. Again, between all of these different parts that you're seeing, that I've, like, the neon fluorescent parts, I've experimented a lot, different methods of how I've been applying it. And we're kind of like dialing in on a process here, but again, if I were to do this model again, if I were to do another model in this style again, I think I would settle upon a single kind of technique so that it's more uniform across the board. We'll have to let this dry. Another thing that I noticed with fluorescent paint is that it kind of, it tends to dry a lot brighter than your initial application. So however it looks right now, it'll probably end up looking different as it dries. That's what I've noticed. So that's something that I need to, like, account for when I'm painting. And that's not really an issue most of the time when I'm using acrylic paint. You know, the colors are the colors out the bottle, accounting for, like, the base color or anything like that. All right. So here, these two parts, I want to apply the rust. So let's try it. Let's give it a shot. But before I do that, let's let's do another thing. Ba 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 ba. Yeah, so I ended up not streaming for practically a whole week as I was adventuring as the Arisen, but I'm glad to have got that out of my system for the most part. And now I can get back to some painting. We do need to get this worked on and start maybe a new project, maybe finish this Azabi. A lot of things, a lot of things. Also, I felt like prior to the release of Dragon's Dogma 2, I was kind of felt like there was a lot on my mind, or a lot that I was like, oh boy, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And maybe that was kind of, what's the word? Making me paralyzed, like just paralyzed with, overwhelmed with all the different things that I had on my plate, or that I've, just all in my mind, self-imposed, put on my plate. So it was kind of nice to just step back, even if it was just a week. What's the next game? Dragon's Dogma 2. I really would like to get back into The Witcher 3, because I never finished that game and I had a lot of fun, and I think that would be a nice kind of follow up to carry on the same vibes. But in all likelihood, that's probably like a huge undertaking that I'm not really willing to do at the moment. So, what other options are there? What other things? I don't have a plan, so I'm thinking. Let's get this dirty down rust. Let's give this a shot. Should we use a different brush for this? I forget if we should use like crummy brushes for this. Oh, reach please. Crappy brush. My crappy brush rack. This looks like a decent brush, and maybe we should get another one, quite possibly. Ended up over leveled for most of my run, but I would still try to XP grind, so instead of that I would enter the battle and just turn auto attack. Yeah, I definitely used a lot of auto attack in Yakuza 8, and possibly like using it too much for me. But it's too good. And that's just a problem in RPGs in general, that you can end up just too strong. It's even happened in Dragon's Dogma as well. And it being really strong. Alright, let's try. Let's smush this all in. See what happens. And it's the consistency of this stuff is like syrup. It looks so syrupy, but we actually go in and kind of wick away some of this, the moistened brush. So we'll do now. We'll see how that turns out. And if you kind of like feather it, I guess is one way to put it, it'll still kind of accumulate in all the recesses and the cracks, and that'll stay really dark. But in the other places, it'll get a little lighter. That's what we want. I'm still fairly new to using this stuff, and look, it's already doing its thing, which is so crazy. Look. Isn't that awesome? Dude, that looks so sick. It's already doing its thing almost immediately, straight out the bottle. You guys saw, right? It was like very syrupy and dark, and now it's kind of like, when it dries, there's a lot of variation, and kind of like it goes from like an orangey, and there's like little specks in it too. Looks cool, yeah. So I talk about in painting that often there's no like single slam dunk method or process, and that like more often than not you're gonna have to layer on several passes to kind of get the look that you want. But I mean, this stuff is pretty close to a straight out the bottle slam dunk product. Do you know what I'm saying? Full disclosure, I was supplied this by the distributor, not the manufacturer, but the distributor of them. But there was no expectation to do a review, to do anything with it. They mostly wanted to send it to me because I had experienced some difficulty with my original product, the Moss. Want to do this on a car kit. Yeah, man. That would be amazing to see. I think it would look really cool. Or any kind of like vehicle construction equipment. I think that would be really cool. Alright. Okay, we're going crazy. Let's just smush it around everywhere. So one thing to keep in mind with this stuff though is that you do need to shake it a lot. A lot. And you need to have, the bottle does need to get warmed up prior to use. I just kept it in my pocket pretty much at the start of the stream, and now here we are at the end using it. But it's crazy, like, how fast it works, I guess. Yeah. Look at that. Oh, as someone that really enjoys weathering and rust, this is very amusing to me. So normally when I do weathering, I tend to, or rather rust techniques, this is a process that I usually use like several kinds of paint and kind of build up that process as I was saying. But this time around, I've just simply chosen to use this, and we're almost just relying on it exclusively. Perhaps we can kind of get into mixing and matching a little later. Mixing the use of it with other stuff. In the past, I actually also kind of used my normal method, and then kind of used this stuff after as a way of like kind of adding a little extra something. But again, this time around, we're just using this exclusively. Car kit or like, you know, some kind of Xeon mobile suit would be kind of neat. So let's try applying this to the foot. And again, we kind of focus the buildup in places where moisture would accumulate. Our GCs and contractors would be baffled to see you painting rust on a nice colored surface. Yeah. I love it. I just love it too much. I think that's just like a weird thing for some folks. For me, especially, it's just I just think that rust and the textures and all of that stuff is just so fascinating. But I think we need to be using it in a very controlled way, and we don't want to overdo it. We don't want to, we want to think about where it makes sense to apply it. And again, this is something that I might need to adjust. Purple, that would have been nice for my ball drop build, yeah. So I will say that this stuff is fairly pricey. It's, the moss that I had bought was $25 Canadian. But that being said, you're not going to use too much of it. I feel like you don't really need to use too much. fascinated with people polishing raw stuff. I know. The dichotomy of man. I'm Enigma. Just trying to use some directional. 25 bucks, yeah. Yeah. It's a fair chunk of change. Remember being on the fence about buying it. I had seen it being used quite a bit, especially in Warhammer circles. Yeah, it turns out this is a product that's also used in like film, movies, and TV shows. And they're constantly making new things too. I saw that they are testing out blood. Blood has like a more viscous kind of like look to it, but that looked pretty cool. So yeah, they're trying out new stuff. So I might go and kind of reinforce some of the stuff that's happening here with like an actual with actual orange paint. But straight out the bottle and straight off the bat, that is just really cool. This is exactly what I was wanted like, and if you imagine like applying this to the rest of the model, that could look very interesting. But I will have to stop myself from doing it more because I was very tempted to apply more of this, but we do need to add the decal, so I think we might pause for now, and we will do the decals next time, or perhaps next time I stream or off stream, and then we can get back to the weathering, the fun stuff, the weathering once again. That could be an option. Okay, let's apply a little bit more. Skip a few Happy Meals. I know, let's skip a few Happy Meals. I gotta get those Pokemon. That's the Yu-Gi-Oh! Hello Kitty. Let's add a little more, and we'll kind of wrap things up, guys. I've only used this specific product, the Rust, just once as a test. But I did use the moss quite a bit. Again, pretty happy with the results. Do take note, however, that this is water-soluble paint, and it says high matte semi-permanent. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. When they say semi-permanent, it can wash off to some degree. Using just water, and potentially you might run into a situation where if you're applying this with a top coat after, that it might kind of affect what's going on here already. But in my experience, I've not really noticed a really big change. It's just something to keep in mind. And I also tend to kind of spray in a light layer, let it dry, and then spray in a light layer again. And so that way the initial layer is not too heavy and not too wet to like disturb what's going on here. And then the second and third layer is just kind of like protecting what's already there. Yeah, very interesting. And I could play around with this a whole lot more. But very fun, very interesting. Here, let's take a look. So here, for example, I feel like I want to add a bit more rust, because if you look, it's kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4. These like 4 little areas, and that's just too structured. So we need to kind of break up that structure. That's something that you need to keep in mind when you're trying to do weathering. This is more successful. I think that looks a little better. There's like a heavier concentration here, and then just a little bit over here and then nothing over here. That to me seems more... That seems more realistic. Whereas again, here's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll have to think about adding a big clump or something to make it more... have more variety. And this is an example of like a part where I've had a lot going on at the base of the finger of the hand and then extending out less, and I kind of used a moistened brush to kind of feather it out, and this is the result you get. So you can get some different results, but also work like, you know, all the work that had been applied earlier with the variation in the turquoise and the teal and the dark green underneath, like all of that is helping as well, you know. It kind of helps to just sell you on this idea. Think like a FG, go random. Dude, what? Who said it? Was it Coach Budenhauser? He was like the huddle. He was in a huddle and he just told his guys to be random. Just be random. I don't know, guys. Be random.